Hello, you guys. We are back with a live. I have a fall mantle that I am going to be using a humongous chalkboard on. So here is my chalkboard, and you can see I've got my first word all set up.
Here, I'll take
hand
this.
it to Joe.
So there we go.
And I already mounted it on the thin mount. And I've kind of already started because I didn't want you guys to have to deal with all of my laying it out and stuff. That takes a while.
Yeah.
But I do want to show you a little bit of that. So I figured we'd do half of it ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then we'll show you the other half.
So this is the gather. I'm sorry,
gather.
the retro.
Retro, yes.
Retro alphabet. I'm going to get this in my little...
Yeah. So we have it on our grid thin mount, yay, and I'm going to put the first word right about there because we've already started laying it out to know where it is all going to hit.
How big is this chalkboard?
Oh, great question.
Is this 24 by 36?
It's big.
I'm thinking possibly 20.
Yeah.
I think it's 24 by 36. But
I am
not
almost
certain.
positive. If not, it's close to that, but I will tell you once I am able to look.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this over. I've already gotten our ELC, which is Erasable Liquid Chalk. And this is what makes all of this possible because we developed an erasable chalk that is actually really nice and opaque. There was nothing on the market. There was like some on the market, but they were super translucent.
And they weren't formulated great for staying stable on a stamped surface without drying quickly. I'm sorry, a stamped surface.
Yeah. So yes. One thing to note when you're using the erasable liquid chalk, one of the benefits is that it stays nice and juicy and wet. But you want to be mindful of that as you're stamping because I have put my arm in it.
Right.
But the beauty is
you've got open time. You've got open time before it, depending on your conditions, it can take 24 hours to dry. Again, depending, if there's air movement and warmth, that's going to look totally different. And depending on how thick you go on, how juicy. But that said, it is, because of that, conducive to actually some really cool
like mixed
techniques,
media,
mixed media, painting with a water brush. And I don't want to give out too much more tips because we've got some education coming up on that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I've got my first word laid out. I already know somewhat where it's going to go, and I'm going to use these grid lines right there with my frame. And then I'm just eyeballing it side to side here. I hope I'm correct.
See the grid lines. You can also check it while you hover with the surfaces that, like the frame itself. See how the line is parallel with the grid lines, parallel with the frame.
Yeah.
And when we mounted this, we checked the bottom of each of the letters, the actual impression lines of the letters with the grid lines so that we could get it a little more level than it was when we had just eyeballed it.
Yeah. So go ahead and explain what that means.
Totally. Okay. Meanwhile,
first word done
in there.
I would say that's pretty darn centered if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
Now, I laid this out ahead of time and I was able to figure out that there's two H's in this, and the H's kind of hit really nice on
Hi,
the
Michelle.
side. So I'm going to do one word at a time. And I'm going to start with the H. And for the swoosh, this is what I mean when I'm going to show you how I do swoosh. Now, Josie does it a different way. She can show you how she does it. It's a different technique where she skips every letter and puts it down and then does the inside letters. But I actually do one letter at a time, and the reason for that is I just find it easier for me to make the lines line up.
And she does it with her fingers, and she does it outlaw. Totally bare with no mounting surface.
It makes Josie uncomfortable.
I don't like it.
She does not like it. But it's how I roll. And that's the beauty of our products. You use
lots of different ways to do it. Hi, Doreen. Good evening.
Okay. So you can see the reason Joe doesn't like to go barehanded is because the top of the stamps are a little bit sticky.
Yeah, they're
They're
meant
to be sticky, so they stick to, you know, your thin mount. So I'm just mindful of that, and I kind of run my finger over with and keep one hand steady on it.
See how she's rolling her finger so as to avoid the stamp popping up with her finger?
Right. So this is why I do them one at a time, because I want to, again, doing chalkboard is so, you can be messy and like just erase it.
That's true. That's true.
It's awesome. So I'm going to.
I even asked her, I'm like, do you want me to cut out little squares of the thin mount so you can mount them individually and still do them individually? She's like, no, why?
I'm fine doing it like
that. Let me tell you why.
I put my foot down, doing it. How does that song go?
I don't even know.
Doing it my way.
So I was starting to say,
Mary
guys,
Tyler Moore.
if you see something, I'm trying to be super still so I don't cause vertigo. And what I do is I try to do it from the view that I like to see it. And that for me is like from her vantage point, like looking over the shoulder as opposed to the other direction. However, feel free.
Yes, herewith. I did the wrong word.
Feel free to pipe in if I'm doing something that that you don't love.
Okay, so this
Sometimes
is why
I'm just
I do them one at a time, because I'm really picky about how these line up, and I want them to overlap perfectly. Because we all know that hand lettering that we love and how it's just has a beautiful fluid movement.
There is an advantage. I say the biggest advantage to doing it the way Sally's doing it right now is that you have complete control over the overlap of the tails, so that you can really get it dialed in there.
Yeah. Now, when I want to show you when
Judy.
I go back, if there's a little spot that I want to catch.
See, that doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me either. But if it does,
it bothers you.
if it does bother you, you can take the liquid chalk and just go back and paint in any spots that were missed. Just
True.
FYI.
Or take a water brush, just barely damp, and just kind of smear that right down in there.
Ooh, that would actually be really fun to play with some effects.
True that. We could just get a little brush and we could do that.
Chisels. Okay, and we're going to go. And I like to make sure the letters, both E's should be, like you wouldn't want to go like this, okay? Or like this. You want the E's to be nice and lined up.
Hold on a second on that.
Okay.
Sometimes you like the kind of whoop-de-dooey playfulness on it, but most of the time when you see that, it isn't angled different, it's just higher or lower. Would you say that? So, for example, you might have your E a little higher, but the same angle, for example.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's try that, because
Does that make sense, guys?
So, same angle as my other E, same direction. Okay, so actually, I want to start with my last letter, because I want to make sure it hits right about there, and I'm going to work this way.
Okay.
It's dangerous, but it is chalk. I can erase it.
Say you have a gap that's bigger than you anticipated there, you could put like a little heart.
Yeah, you could.
Or something like that.
Exactly. Or you could erase it and try again if that's not, there's a lot of options. But when I laid it out earlier, the H's hit just right about there.
And it was really kind of
And it was really nice. So I'm going to...
And I also try to get shots. Like, I like to see close up.
Yeah.
To really,
it's really
get
nice.
in the business of what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
See how with the way, and there's leeway there. You can space them a little more. But Sally's got a good, before you lift that, let me show how much overlap she does there to really get a continuous. Now, like I said, you could move that off a little bit, and there's some margin there, especially when you're really playing with your spacing and you want it to fit a certain
Just
way.
like in hand lettering, some of your spacing is tighter and some is more spaced apart, and they both look good.
Yes, true. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's more than one way to stamp.
Are we still allowed to say that?
Oh,
more than one way to skin a cat.
Royce said it, so.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's looking so good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so.
Now, when you're laying out letters kind of like this intentionally and one at a time, it is super easy to misspell something. Just
I know.
Because you're not focused on the spelling.
Going backwards.
Exactly.
Too. But again, the beauty is with chalk, you just erase it. No biggie.
Exactly. Give yourself that latitude. Mm-hmm. Totes.
Now, with this hand lettering, it's kind of fun to go up.
Oh, yeah.
I think I go down.
You can go up and down.
I'm going to go down.
But I think Sally's right. That's really more how you get the kind of fun, whimsical, if you want to do that, is up and down more so than tilty. Now, that said, I'm sure you can get some really cute looks with the tilty too.
Yeah, probably. That is true. Okay.
Oh, so cute.
I am not rinsing my stamps in between. If you were doing ink or paint, you would.
Or you know, in our stamp videos, we always talk about keeping wet wipes and or a tub of warm soapy water. This does not set up firmly, but wet wipes are great. So handy. I think that it looks fabulous.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, what we have said in the past is the chalkboard, stamping on a chalkboard is a really great way to practice.
Yes,
with
totally. It's
getting
a fabulous way to practice.
Lined up.
And the thing is definitely script, and particularly a fun, whimsical script is going to be different than the letters that have a same bottom line.
I'm gonna go.
These do not, and so that's going to be different than lining up your alphabets that have that same bottom line.
So I've got my wipies, and because I'm going to be using these again to lay out a word, I am going to wipe these down. Now I'm going to show you how to lay out the rest, since I didn't show you this one. And I might need Josie's help because she's actually super good with the layout part. And
I'm the camera girl, so I don't know how that's going to work.
Well, I can switch with you. Do you want to lay it out for me?
Okay. All right. So grateful, and we're going to gather some.
Gather here with grateful hearts.
What I would do is consider this your center. These retro stamps are very close to the same width. There's a couple of exceptions, but these are going to be close to width. So this is about center there.
Now each letter is a slightly different size, so you go about center and then you visualize it once your letters are on the thin mount and you're hovering, you can shift it. But this just gives you a starting point.
Getting it on, and especially if you are intentional about centering it on your thin mount, so that then your thin mount gives you further context within the frame that you're working. Okay, E-F-U-L. There's no repeat letters in it. That is so convenient.
That is rare.
Yeah, for that long of a word.
Right.
Great. F-U-L coming at ya. Okay, let's see if this is, we are barely, you know what? No, that's going to be, should I just do it? Or should I scoot these closer together to fit? Our new thin mounts are 18 inches. They're just a little shorter by 2 inches than our previous ones.
Okay.
Because we made some changes, including a center lines, blue center lines, and some curve guides for laying out letters. So my point is, this is probably about center. You know what I think I'm gonna do? So I am going to just use this blue center line, and I saw that, here, let's go ahead and zoom in close. So if we're using this blue center line as our level spot, we're gonna note the places, and we're not looking at this line here, that the margin, we're looking at this and seeing that it falls pretty close. So like this E right here, I feel like we could bump that up just a bit because we're wanting them to sit just above it. And then we're also paying attention to how level the letter is. And then this, okay, see this U, this comes down quite a bit underneath that blue line. So we're just using that line as a guide to bump it up and keep it level.
Perfect.
Okay.
Excellent.
And this one could come up just a smidge too. And this is like almost off of the page.
I know.
But it is going to stick fine and not be a problem. It's not going to fall up on us. And it's just so convenient using on this. So now I'm going to, do you want me to do this part, Sal?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Pat gently, you don't need to press down. You just want to get the high spots on these. Okay. So we are looking at that, like just that side of that T, just between the T and the H as our center. And we're looking at this in context of the rest. And we're looking at this, just check a lot of different points. For example, the bottom of this thin mount, if we see it, look at it how it is lined up parallel with this bottom wood frame. If it was like that, that would be an indicator that we're off. Okay.
Okay.
But we want it parallel with that bottom wood.
Just check all your fixed lines.
Exactly.
Check it against fixed lines.
So where do you want it? Right about here?
A little lower.
Right here?
A little lower. Because only one more word is going to go down here.
Yes,
Hearts.
yes.
So we want it to
Right
be...
here?
Yeah,
Okay,
right
can
about
you
there
give
is
an
good.
overhead, like over my shoulder, as square as you can,
Okay.
so that they can see the lineup. Then we're gonna lie down.
I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm trying.
Okay, I'm gonna step out of the way so you can
Okay.
see. There we go. And then you can bring it down here and see. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to
Put it down.
do not
down,
shift.
down.
Now there's some of this that is off the page, so that we will do like the way Sally does it.
Willy-nilly. AKA willy-nilly.
And then we're going to make sure we're making contact on the whole thing. Sometimes you trace it, but you don't want to shift. Sally's really awesome at this. I tease, but she's better than I am and super intense. I'm kind of more sloppy, maybe. That seems like a harsh way to put it. But maybe. Okay, I think we're good. We're not shifting. We've got good contact. We are going to lift. All right.
I love it.
And then, are you going to use the same font or alphabet for hearts? Or are you going to use...
You guys like it? There it is.
Are you going to use
You know,
swoosh for hearts? I feel
yeah.
like...
What do you think?
I'm feeling like that would work good here.
Yeah.
To give it a little more... This is soft.
Yes.
And less angular. And,
Right.
And then the back and forth, I think, is fun, too.
Yeah, I do
Okay.
too. So yes.
All right.
Let's do that.
Do you want me to demonstrate the other method?
Sure.
Lineup? Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
So Josie's going to demonstrate the thin mounts with the swoosh and how to use a thin mount if
With
you want to
a
go
script.
that direction.
Yes.
Okay, Josie's getting ready here.
Okay. H-E-A-R-T-S. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and this will be about in the middle
Here,
here.
let me get a better angle
So
so they can see exactly what you're
doing? I'm going to use your shoulder
Okay.
to rest the
So
camera.
it's fine. So these letters went down, and these letters are laying on top of them the way they would overlap, okay? I'm going to make it more jostly if you're doing that.
Okay. Ow, is that better? Sorry, guys.
Okay, yeah, that's better.
Ow,
Yeah, they're
give
not
me a
going to...
rib cramp.
You had it coming. Okay, so...
Now let's do this. This is how I've laid this out so that if I get down here, you can see. Okay, so the H, every other letter is down on the surface first, and then these ones, the E, the R, and the S are laying on top, and I've layered them the way I want them to overlap. Then I'm going to carefully, because these kind of cling, they're going to shift a bit. I'm going to carefully remove those ones on there. Okay. I am looking for questions.
Okay. Now. Okay. So now I'm going to center this like this, okay? And I've got this centered with this word. This was centered with this word. So, in theory, when I go back and kind of center this thin mount with this and lay those down, the end result will be centered. So, let's go ahead. Get this out of my way.
We have two colors of ELC. We have charcoal and we have white. A lot of people like to do messaging on whiteboards, or they can use it on a vintage window.
And what else is... We haven't covered this in a long time, but you can get, especially the lightweight, the thin, both, there's vinyl and then there's another type of plank flooring.
Yes.
That looks like old barnwood or whatever. You can get it at like Home Depot.
Yes.
Wherever you can look for remnants.
And just make
that have,
signage.
Like, leftover boxes or whatever. We actually have a tutorial somewhere in the archives of clicking and gluing together 3 pieces of that plank flooring to create a sign. We've got a few of them actually.
Yeah, we did that a lot when we first came out with the ELC.
Is one that is a white chippy paint one. Okay, so is that about where you like us, Sal? I'm kind of lined up. Okay.
Yeah, looks good.
I'm using this. Have them show where the grid is. How the grid is. It's not.
She's lining up the grid.
You don't have to have it
frame.
be able to line up in order to check that it's parallel. To check your levelness, right? Okay, I'm gonna lie this down. And this is a little bit tricky because this is not laying flat. So what I'm gonna want to do is bring this down and stabilize it and hold it while I do this. Okay. So one hand is always on this so that I am not having it bounce up and down, which is what it would do if I wasn't stabilizing it.
And some people have asked, why wouldn't you just use a stencil or one of those, oh gosh, what do they call it? Like a screen stencil for this? And you can absolutely do that. And I think in a lot of ways, those are quicker for fixed messaging. So you are stuck with whatever that stencil says or the screen stencil says.
Now, one thing also you can do, guys, like
this allows more customization.
A lot of times you're going to have pieces of this cut out. You could use like a half sheet of this for when you're doing word art. In fact, I'll cut this in half before I pick these up. So HE. See how I'm laying this down, guys? And how, in theory, if you were paying attention when you did it, you should be able to get a good layout.
And and this one's gonna go here.
I'm so happy with my chalkboard. I'll get a picture of this, you guys, on my mantle so that you can see it.
So cute.
All
Okay,
finishing.
I'm gonna cut this one in half. Just for
Now, let me just,
hold on. I can't.
I know, I just want to see, can we put the S up a little bit?
Sure.
So it feels like the word is leaning down that way.
Oh yeah. Good point. Totes.
There we go.
That good?
Yeah, I like that better. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now I'm going to cut this in half. And I've got that line I can use. Oops.
Excellent. The thin mounts are a wonderful value, so you can use them and cut them and make them work for you.
Yeah, they're really very sturdy and they'll last you a good long time. Okay, so now I'm going to carefully and gently, so I'm not smudging my previous work, get in here and I'm just going to butt it up against here.
Boom,
Get
boom,
that
boom.
mounted. Lift.
Okay.
I can just kind of tip this down here, use that, and then guide. I think I'm right over it proper.
Yeah, I think you're good to go.
Lay down. Do not shift. I love how the thin mount does not stick to your fingers.
Gosh, our spacing is literally perfect.
Really?
I'm super proud of us.
That's awesome.
It is really
I
good.
have had more than one times when I threw a sign together and Sally's like, I really love it. However,
I am really picky about spacing and oh wow, that is perfect. That I will admit that is absolutely perfect.
let's get a brush, a damp brush, and like,
and show that.
yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'm thinking there's two ways you could do this, guys.
Okay.
You could take and either, there's probably some on here that is still not
I'm gonna get in
set
nice
up.
and close.
You do
can
that.
see.
Or, so three ways. Just using the excess. Now here's one thing.
What do you mean?
You don't want to sit on, well I'm saying.
Okay.
But you don't want to put your arm down on your
Oh,
work.
yeah.
So stabilize like you do on a art canvas.
Mm.
Stabilize yourself like that with like your pinky or what have you so that you
Okay.
can do your works with
That's a
stability.
good art tip.
Yeah. So you could either use the excess that hasn't dried and smear that down like that. You can see that
Look at you
working.
blending.
Or you can
that
pick
more.
up
A little.
pick up a little off your pad and get in there, right? Or you could do a little dip quickly in the
Just
water.
some water.
So it's just damp. You don't want it too wet, and then
Sorry if I'm making you guys dizzy. I'm trying to make sure you see everything that she's doing.
Do that. See, that stabilizing yourself with the pinky is gonna go a long way for you, because you don't want to lean on your work and smudge it.
See how easy that is, guys?
Yeah, here, let's do.
You just give it a little of this, little of that.
Anywhere else? Oh, if you took a damp, and went inside the retro and pulled in to get the shaded effect.
Oh no, I totally love that
I'm
idea.
gonna try it.
If you're committing to do it to all the letters before I leave tonight.
Oh, okay. I didn't think it'd be hard.
Okay, do it
so
then.
let's
Do
put
it.
some water in here in the middle, and then let's
We're running with
draw
scissors.
it out. In fact, no, I got too much. This is the first time we've done this with the liquid chalk, actually.
Yeah.
So
It's
little
fun
more
to try new
water.
things.
it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of fun, huh?
Yeah, it is. It gives us a different look. One thing I actually love about our retro font is that there's 3 different ways that you can use it. You can use it as an outline like we have here. You can color it in solid with the same color to create a block letter, or you can color it in with a contrast color. So you can get 3 different looks with the retro. Okay. That's fun. As I pull back, you can kind of see that it's adding a really nice shaded effect.
It is. It's fun, huh?
That's really neat. Yeah. And also this font makes for a really fun one to just do a line alongside. You know how with hand lettering you create kind of those fun different fonts with just adding a line on the back and then on underneath, like a shadow line.
Okay, so now.
But this isn't
I spread it and
inside shadow line.
Soften it. I think it's really great to get in and play with in these kind of techniques and get a feel for.
Yes. That's one thing Josie and I are excited about, is to actually create some really awesome chalkboard art techniques, like mixed media artist chalkboard art.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking that.
Yeah, that's really fun. I like it too. I think from far away it's cool too. Like it adds a just completely different look.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks you guys so much. Like I said, I am going to post a finished picture on my mantle so you can all see it when it's all done, okay? Thanks you guys. I hope this was helpful.
Love you, Lynn.
We'll see you soon.